Anytime.
Matisse became a fertile source for Lichtenstein to pluck ideas from. His painting, The Red Studio, shows a number of the artist's own works hanging on his wall. This appealed to Lichtenstein's interest in pictures that refer to art, so he produced a series of artist studios where his own past paintings are featured. He's borrowed repeatedly from particular artists and general styles, testing them against his own notions of what works as art, as if trying to distill and duplicate some essential quality. The methods of the Futurist school appeal to his classical sense of composition. His use of art history has even gone on to take in abstract expressionism, whose main characteristic is a paint-laden technique that shows off the brushstroke. Lichtenstein went one stage further. He painted the brushstroke itself.
The brushstroke, I think, was another almost major breakthrough for me, because I've used it so much in different contexts all the way through.
He went on to use the device of visible brushstrokes almost as much as Bend-Aid dots over the next few years. Abstract expressionism is still the major influence, but converted into representational work. His reclaiming of art history has always had the purpose of finding ideas to rework in his own image and to investigate the age-old question of what constitutes art. You've said, I've always wanted to know what makes one brushstroke a work of art and another not. Is that right?
Well, I didn't mean brushstroke particularly. I meant what makes one mark.
That's right. I knew I wasn't right.
A group of marks or something, you know, but it could be one mark. Why is that art? Because you'd see this drawing looks obviously better than this one, but nobody thinks it is in the art world. It's some piece of, you know, more or less unimportant art. And why is this so good and this one not so good? You know? And that it could boil down to just one mark or two marks. And that was something I just pursued, and I'm really interested in what makes art art. Which I guess was the pursuit of modernism in a way. I mean, why you would become completely abstract to leave out everything except what would be art. Of course, that's just an idea because you're always working in some style, and it's always, a Mondrian doesn't look like a Pollock, and maybe they're both searching for the ultimate thing. It's like what makes one position right following another position in the dance.
His search reached its ultimate stage when he picked on the work of one more artist to use as source material. That artist was himself. In 1983, Leo Castelli invited him to paint the entire wall of his Green Street gallery. It's 96 feet long. The chance to work on such a big space allowed Lichtenstein to construct a collage that was like a catalogue of his past themes, with products like electric cord, office furniture, and a composition book, alongside surreal figures and references to Brancusi, Arp, and Picasso. It took him and 3 assistants 3 weeks to paint it directly onto the wall, but it was only on show for a month before it was bricked over and destroyed. Pop art has always claimed to mirror the disposable society. This once, the theory was put into practice. However perverse it was to cover up the mural, Lichtenstein was able to use the same method of composition on an even bigger space 2 years later. His first mural had aroused great interest and led to him being commissioned to create another one at the Equitable Building on New York's 7th Avenue. It stands 68 feet high and is widely regarded as his best example of bringing together images he's borrowed.
It's, again, a kind of collage of a lot of things I've done. It's generally constructed in what I thought to be a kind of religious painting. Of course, there's nothing religious about it, but it kind of has a kind of glory thing up at the top with the sun shining and all of that. and comes down into the lower depths with my work. And there's a sunset coming out of the beach ball, which relates to the girl with beach ball, except that there's a Leger figure holding that up. There's a column over here on this side, framing it opposite the stretcher frame from, this is sort of from the Temple of Apollo or some of the classical things I did, and also an entablature, which I did later than these, but relates to the Greek-Roman style. This is meant to be a brush stroke, this blue thing coming down here. Then it's, a lot of it is set up in relationship to the architecture, which you can see maybe on the sides of this, where the windows here come across and make certain shapes within the picture. These itself are windows. They don't look like these windows, but in certain lights, those windows would pick up highlights. And it's as though this hand with the sponge, which is also a work I did earlier, erased the mural. So part of the mural is erasing itself, showing the architecture of the building behind it.
I think he is one of the most successful American public artists, in the sense that the work that he does, you know, for public space, such as this public space, it tends to really work in terms of public art. And part of that is that I think he really understands the nature of scale, the way scale works in terms of how people have to live with it, don't live with it, you know, as a background, as an incredible addition to a space, etc. He's also a very, very intimate artist. He's both, I think that's one of the great strengths of his work, is it's magnificent on public terms. It's also very intimate.
The private man lives quietly in an unsalubrious part of Greenwich Village with his wife, and hardly ever goes out, except to the local diner, where they eat lunch at the same table every day. His life is controlled by strict routines, insulated from the hustle and noise of the city. He hasn't been on a subway for years, but his next mural commission is for one of its most squalid stations. The Transit Authority is planning a new terminal at Times Square 42nd Street junction, part of the city's drive to clean